like I would be asking questions.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, okay. Now, according to the authorities, she said that, this is good, Kai. This is something I was saving for the best. You know how they say the best for last? So
Mm-hmm.
they were saying that Audrey also was known in the discovery towards the end of this case that she was found to have poisoned additional members of her family, such as her mother and her
Oh my
mother-in-law.
God.
Yes, this was later on, but she was actually convicted for these cases as well. And so,
Wow. So she got to her mother-in-law too.
yes, and oh, no, her
Wow.
mother and mother-in-law.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what do you have against your mother-in-law? A lot of things, but do you want to
I
kill
mean,
her?
a lot of
Do you
people
want to
say
kill
they
her?
don't get
You
along
know?
with their mother-in-law, don't
Hmm.
they? Isn't that the premise of TV and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. Absolutely. And
But I
so,
mean,
okay,
you don't have
so
to kill her. You could just walk away. It's not your mom. You could, even if it's your mom, you're
it's
grown. You
not
could
even
just
your
walk away.
mom. It's not your mom. Like why do you have to do that? Okay, so her husband said that this is their last hurrah. Before she died, she lured her husband Hannon to a hotel room, and because she okay, so she was they were okay, they got the hotel room together. Why I don't know, because they obviously had a home in Florida, right? Something like that. No, no, you know what? Let's go back. Let's go back because the way they don't explain it is this. I have to assume
I'm
that they
about to
came
say,
back.
you and me and this, let's go back.
Yeah, let's go back. The reason we're going back is because literally when you look at this discovery, they don't explain when or why that she went from Florida and how did she get back to Anniston. So that's my point there.
Hmm.
So yeah, they don't go over that. They just say that. So I'm definitely knowing or assuming that she went from Florida to Anniston. Now that's why they're in a hotel room. Does that make sense? Because they obviously
Yeah.
don't have a home there, at this point, because they had a home in Florida. Okay, so moving along sometime later, they didn't say how much long later, but I don't know even how long they were married. But before she died, they got a hotel room together. But when they did, so this is the craziest thing about this case. Her husband said that he said, well, he didn't know this at the time, but he said that instead of her coming back, okay, let's start over. She says to her husband, I have to go away for a couple of days. I think oh yeah, she said, I have to go back to Florida and I'll be back. I'll be back. My sister, I guess her sister, he didn't know was going to come and say hello to, greet him. He didn't know her sister was going to come instead. Because, see, here's the whole point. She had to think of a way to get away so she could just completely leave him and leave the world, so to speak, because she didn't want her husband to really know who she was and to be on to her. So they get a hotel room together in Alabama. She leaves, goes back somewhere. I'm assuming she goes back to Florida and says, honey, I'm going to go away for a couple of days. And he says, well, okay, but you're coming back. She says, yes. So she comes back. Well, she doesn't come back. So who comes instead? He says she came. Well, here's the funny thing. When she came back, she had taken upon another identity. She took upon
I
another
want to hear
identity
this
at that time.
identity.
Yes. Okay, so she comes back as Terry, but not herself. So he doesn't, or either. Okay, this is what he said. He claims this when he went to court, and he says that he did not know or realize at the time that she wasn't Terry. I guess he thought it was his wife, but she had dyed her hair blonde and acted as if she was someone else. So I don't know how he did get that. But then, so it's so crazy. So then she says, well, when she says, well, I have to leave, so she left again, even though he's going, okay, that was my wife. She just died. No, she comes as Terry, but he didn't realize that was his wife at the time because he said, you know what? This is what he said in his court. And when he
Okay,
went
so
to
you're
court,
making it really confusing.
yeah,
So, okay, let me clarify this. So what you're saying is she went to Florida.
okay,
So she went to Florida to visit her sister due to complications with whatever was supposedly going on with her
while she
twin
was sick,
sister.
yeah,
Then, out of nowhere, she comes back, but she's in disguise. She dyed her hair a
blonde,
different color. She dyed her hair
blonde,
blonde, and
hmm
she came back in the guise of her twin sister.
Well, yeah, because they said that she was. This is what they said that he believed he didn't realize that at the time. I guess he said that I'm Terry, but he said when he went to court, he actually said he didn't realize that it was not Terry. Well, I guess she fooled him. He said if she fooled me, I never knew. He said something like that. I
Ain't
didn't
nobody
realize that.
fooled. Not to talk about a victim, but you kind of gotta be pretty. Like, I want to see his IQ score for somebody to
Yeah,
fool
I
you
would love
into
to.
believing that's your twin
I would
sister.
absolutely love to see
Because
that.
it's like a 90s sitcom when they went on a date. Like, one guy went on a date with two girls because he couldn't say no to one. And so he'd, like, put on his hat and be like, hey there, Bibby. Oh, I got to go to the bathroom. And then slide off to the bathroom and take off the hat and put
We're
on
changing
glasses and
that.
then, hey there. Yeah. And then he'll forget to take off the hat. So he'll have on the hat and the glasses and they'll be like, hey there. Like, wait, who are you? No, I messed up. So it's like,
Oh my
that's
gosh, that's so
that's kind of like,
crazy.
so then, okay, so my thing is, okay, so even you, Shar, you somehow convinced me you have a twin sister that I've never met,
Yeah.
and you come visit me, and you're just like, hey, wait, hold on, let me go down the street, I'll be back, and then you come back with like a different wig or something, and you're like, hey, yeah, I'm Barre,
I
I'm
said, all right.
Shara's twin
Yeah.
sister, and I'll
Hmm.
be like, really? Really, Shar? No, no, no. I'm Barre. I'm not Share. Okay. Well, you sit right here on this couch and you, Barre, call Share and tell her to come here so you both can be here in front of me. Because I don't know you. Why are you at my house?
Oh
So
my
that would be
gosh,
my
it's
thing.
crazy.
Why would
Yeah.
why would she go to Florida and her twin sister, who was terminally ill by the way, why would her twin sister then come back without her sister to her house with only her husband in it, and then her sister supposedly is still in Florida, and I'm just none the wiser. I'm just like, well, okay, well, it was
Okay,
nice to
so
meet you, twin sister.
this is the crazy thing. Okay, so when I was reading the reports, it says that now remember that the last person that left that room or that city or that area with her husband, her name was Robbie Holman. That was the alias. Remember? But do you
Yeah.
remember that she also took out another insurance policy on herself? They didn't say that she took it out on who she is, Marie Hilley. She took out the insurance policy somehow on Robbie Holman. So it's like, okay, you're faking your own death. So I don't know if the sister came back to say, "Oh, your wife is dead." Does that make sense?
But then my question still is, you couldn't pick up a phone? Aren't you terminally ill? You look pretty healthy to me.
Yeah.
And then my question is, why'd you have to fly up here to tell me your twin sister is dead? Then you should be distraught beyond whatever and still be in Florida crying and call me to tell me that my wife is dead, and then I'll fly to Florida and comfort you. Like, do you see what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
This case is so confusing because now they definitely said that she faked her death. Her alias was Robbie Holman, and that's why she had the death certificate. They also said that she definitely pretended to be Terry, and he believed it was Terry. But later on, he said, "Oh my God, I didn't realize it was my wife." But what I don't understand is this, and this is where it gets so weird. This case is something we might have to do a part two. So she lured her husband when they say she, I'm assuming that must mean her sister, her twin sister, but it's her. Lured her husband to a hand into the hotel room, where he found a suicide note. So she must have got a call that said, maybe it was a twin sister that said, "Oh, my sister is dead. I'm going to meet you at the room to tell you everything that happened. I've got to tell you,"
Okay,
or
here
something
I
crazy like
come.
that. Yeah,
Why
yeah, yeah,
can't you
something
tell
like
me
that.
over the phone?
I don't know. So yeah, so I know he's
Oh my
expecting someone to
god.
come. He's expecting this person to come to the room. They never show up. But what he finds instead is a note that says he finds a suicide note, by the way. The suicide note says, "I'm sorry. Hope you will be able to forgive me. I am ready to leave."
So, okay, oh my god.
Yeah, I told you
So the
we've
twin
got some
sister
good,
told
this
him
is
to
the home of
meet
the good
her.
cases. Uh-huh.
So the twin sister told him to meet her in a hotel.
Yeah,
And for
so,
some reason, his wife's suicide note is in the hotel.
well, remember before they left, okay, he obviously, maybe, okay, so I'm thinking she left it on the table somehow. He left it because she lured him away.
But
I don't know if he
I
said,
understand that, but it's
yeah.
supposed to be the twin sister you're meeting. Why is my wife's suicide note here? Then my brain is kicking into hyperdrive. Now I'm saying you killed your sister. If I'm believing you're the twin, then you killed your sister. No,
Because he
she
doesn't
committed
realize it's
suicide.
not
No,
her.
bullshit. You were in
Yeah.
this room with her. You killed her. See
Well,
that?
listen,
See?
listen. I think this is what happened, Kai. I think that the twin sister called him. Okay, the husband and wife come in together. Well, no, that because that. How do you just get on a plane that quick? The husband and wife. No, because she didn't really leave. The husband and wife come in together. Everything's fine when they checked into the room, right? Then she leaves for whatever reason. Maybe she said, "Honey, I'm gonna get something to eat." The sister calls and says, "I've got to talk to you because there's a problem with Audrey." But when she left, she could have let. No, let's start over. Let's say that she writes a suicide note and then he leaves because the sister lures him away from the hotel. To say I've got to talk to you. But then when he meets her, how is he meeting Terry and not knowing that? Because she's got to leave again in order for him to go to the hotel and realize that's not Terry. They don't explain that. I'm telling you, it's so crazy. It's like, how does he not know?
This is the most bizarre, topsy turvy, weird. Just I don't even know. Story.
Do you know that her husband said in court that he had no idea that Terry was Audrey. He had no idea. She totally fooled him, and that there's not a mean bone in Audrey's body, the Audrey that he knew. And when she faked her death, as Robbie Holman, even later. Well, see that's the thing. When did she? Oh, well, fake her death because the sister said that she was dead, but she wasn't dead. But like he believed everything. He believed everything is what he said. So finally, in conclusion of this crazy case, on there on a cold, rainy day, police were called to the scene where a woman was found delirious on the porch of a house. Once again, she's back in Blue Mountain. That's why I assume that the hotel room is at Anniston, at that time. And so she's back in Blue Mountain near her childhood home. She said now this is crazy. The authorities come to her and they say, "Who are you?" Because somehow she slumped and just almost passed out on the porch outside in the elements. It's really, let me just set the environment here. It's very, very cold outside, extremely cold. Cold enough for her body temperature to drop to 81 degrees below zero. Can I say that for a body temperature or is that just for outdoors? I don't know.
Negative 81 degrees. What?
Yes, that's what they
She
said.
should have been dead. There's
She
no
should have been
freaking way.
dead. That's what they said. They said 81
No,
degrees.
there's no
Yeah.
freaking way her body could have been negative 81 degrees and she's alive. Are you sure?
Yeah, it says her
Are you
body
sure they're not
temperature.
talking about Celsius or something?
No,
Degrees?
they just said her body temperature dropped to 81 degrees. So they didn't say how
Do you
cold it
know
was
how
outside.
cold negative 81
Yeah.
degrees is?
I know. Those were my thoughts because here's the thing. She mysteriously went into convulsions, but before that happened, let me just back up. Before that happened, the lady that owned the house, because someone obviously owned the house of the porch she was on, because that's not her home. That's not where she lived. The lady that owned the house knew her very well for years. She did not recognize Audrey Marie Hilley at all. She didn't know it was her friend or associate or confidant or, she didn't realize that was who she was. When the authorities came, she was going mysteriously, she went into convulsions and she had hypothermia at the time. So she died from hypothermia. They never found out why she called. When they said, "Who are you?" She said, "I'm Sellers." Her last name was Sellers.
So you're saying that her neighbor didn't even recognize her?
Kai, it's just the most bizarre thing. How is it that you don't know someone that you know? But when you're this good at disguise and I guess she was schizophrenic, I would have to imagine. If you're this good at just, being another person, just having all these different personalities. It's crazy.